In part 4 of our video series on configuring forms-based authentication in SharePoint 2013, we're going to go through the final step of actually importing some users into our SQL database that we've created. We'll test authentication, and then we'll go through the request and approval process that's new to SharePoint 2013. So first of all, for this video, I'm actually going to be using an import-export utility script that we've written at SharePoint Solutions to actually allow you to import and export data from different sources. In this case, I've created a simple common delimited file that has a username, email address, password, and then a secret question and answer column. So let's take a look at that real quick and see what it looks like. Here's the spreadsheet that I created first. So we have a username, a password column, email, password question, password answer. And you can also store passwords in a separate data file and import them that way with the command line that I'll show you in just a second. Or you can also randomly generate one. But for the purposes of the video, I'm just going to keep it simple and have everything in the same file. And then here's the common and delimited file that I created from the Excel spreadsheet. So this is what we're going to be using, just so you can compare the two. Now what you see in this directory is actually the contents of the unzipped import-export utility that we provide. There's going to be a link to the utility in the description below, so you're welcome to download it yourself. The first thing that I want to draw your attention to is the membership config. So let's open that up real quick and see what it looks like. This is very similar to the web config files that we configured earlier. We actually have to give it a connection string area, FBA, data source, initial catalog, and the same thing for our membership provider and role manager. So I've used the same values here that I have in the earlier videos, FBA, FBA role, and FBA for the database. So now that we have that configured, let's open this import script text. So what this is just a simple typed out version, and I've kind of enlarged it so you can see it better, of what we're going to type at the PowerShell command. Now it's important to remember that we do need to run this utility in PowerShell and not the SharePoint management shell. So we're going to call the script import extranet directory.ps1. Then we're going to start with the switches. So we have data file, sample.import.data.txt, -config file, membership config, that's the one we just looked at. Membership provider name, FBA, just like we've done from the very beginning. And finally, we're going to create an output file called import.results.txt. So let me copy this. So now I'm going to open up PowerShell, and we're going to run it as administrator just to be sure we don't have any permission issues. I'm going to change over to the extracted folder, and we're going to paste our command. As you can see, the import is started. Got the membership provider, reading from the sample.import.data file, and we actually have 3 imported and 0 failed. Looks good. So let's go over and open up our site. And now in the drop down, we're actually going to choose Forms Authentication. That's going to take us to a separate sign-in screen. And here you can see we have the FBA look and feel, username, password. So my username was import1, and my password was just password. Click Sign In. And now we get this screen, which is obviously new to SharePoint 2013. It's basically an access denied screen. You can see up in the URL, there's an access denied path. And basically what it's asking is to let them know why we need access to the site. So we could get around this by adding the user, the FBA user, to a SharePoint group ahead of time before trying to sign in. But I wanted you to kind of see the new process that 2013 has introduced. So I'm just going to say I am the first FBA user. And we hit send request. And finally, we get this screen. It says awaiting approval. Will let you know about any updates. If you want to update the request, you can write another message here. So I'm going to go ahead and just close this out. And then we'll close the rest of these down. We're pretty much done with these. And we open the site back up and sign in as a Windows administrator. So from here, I'll choose Windows Authentication again. And we get the working on it wheel. And finally, we get to the home screen. So we're going to go to the wheel, select Site Settings. And then we see a new area under Users and Permissions called Access Requests and Invitations. So let's click that. We see pending requests from import1. So I'm going to click here on the menu. It's going to retrieve the message that import1 wrote to us. It says I'm the first FBA user. And I'm just going to simply type approved. Go ahead and send the message, and then I'm going to click approve here. As you can see, sending approval and request approved. So I'm going to go back to the home site and sign out, and then we're going to log in again with our new FBA user. So sign out from here, choose Forms Authentication again, and one more time, import one and password. Sign in. We see we're now getting the working on it wheel. This is a good sign, so hopefully it's going to build out the site. And there we are. So we've now logged in with our first FBA user that we imported directly into the SQL database. Forms authentication seems to be working correctly, and we're on our way to having an FBA site. So this wraps up the video series on configuring forms-based authentication in SharePoint 2013. We've basically gone end-to-end from creating the web app to configuring the web config files to actually importing our users. I hope it's been informative. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll have more videos online for you soon. Thanks.